Welcome everyone, I'm Dale and this is Cinema Historia. A son, half Kiowa, half Texan, a new Kiowa chief, and a town in fear. This week we're going back to 1960 for an American Western film called Flaming Star, starring Elvis Presley, Barbara Eden, Dolores Del Rio, and Steve Forrest. And this is directed by Don Siegel. So where does our story begin? Well, it begins in Texas. So, Pacer Burton, played by Elvis Presley, is the son of a Kiowa mother and Texan father. His family, including half-brother Clint, played by Steve Forrest, work as ranchers and live a typical life on the Texan frontier. Rosalind Pierce, played by Barbara Eden, Angus Pierce, and their neighbors, the Howards, come over one evening for Clint's birthday to enjoy dinner and music. After laughter and drinking, their guests begin their journey home. And shortly after, the new Kiowa chief, Buffalo Horn, and some of the tribe pay their family a visit and wish to speak to Pacer. Feeling it too dangerous to talk outside in the dark, Pacer requests that he return in the sunlight alone. So Buffalo Horn honors his request and leaves peacefully. Meanwhile, the Howards, upon returning home, are met with hostile Kiowas with murder and arson on their minds. The next day, Pacer and Clint ride into town to the Wells and Fargo depot for supplies. There they meet Rosalind and Angus Pierce, who tell them the Howards have been murdered and their home burned to a pile of ashes. Upset, Rosalind and Angus blame Pacer and his Kiowa mother for the raid. After Pacer and Clint arrive back home, they are met with a group of town locals on horseback. They want to know if there is a fight between the Kiowas and the local Texans. Is the Burton family on their side? Leaving with an unsatisfied answer, the locals leave upset, unloading their revolvers to stampede their cattle. The next day of sunlight, Buffalo Horn returns to talk to Pacer one-on-one. He states with being forced out of their land, they have no place to go. With wanting Pacer on their side, Buffalo Horn says the Kiowas have to fight or die. So, does a war between the Kiowas and the Texans begin? Are the Burtons caught in the middle? And does Pacer have to choose a side? Based on Claire Huffaker's novel Flaming Lance, which was published in 1958, this film reached number 12 on the box office charts. Critics agreed that Presley gave one of his better performances as Pacer Burton. In fact, writer and director Quentin Tarantino called the film a truly great 50s Western, and maybe the most brutally violent American Western of its era. A 91% rating from the film critic Rotten Tomatoes, stating Elvis's best performance in a solid Don Siegel Western. And Don Siegel went on to direct such films as Coogan's Bluff in 1968, Dirty Harry in 1971, and John Wayne's last film, The Shootist, in 1976. So, our trivia question this week. Were there two other big stars originally slated to play brothers Pacer and Clint in this film? Were there two other big stars originally slated to play brothers Pacer and Clint in this film? So, a little more history and the answer to our trivia question coming up next. Now, since a portion of our film was filmed in Wildwood Regional Park in Thousand Oaks, California, I thought it might be interesting to talk about a TV series that was partially filmed there during the same time period. And that was The Rifleman. The Rifleman was an American Western television program starring Chuck Connors as rancher Lucas McCain and Johnny Crawford as his son, Mark McCain. It was set in the 1880s in the fictional town of North Fork, New Mexico Territory. The show was filmed in black and white in half-hour episodes. This series ran for 5 seasons with 168 episodes. The Rifleman aired on ABC from September 30th, 1958 to April 8th, 1963 as a production of 4 Star Television. It was the first, or one of the first, primetime series on U.S. television to show a single parent raising a child. The series centers on Lucas McCain, a Union veteran of the American Civil War and widower. McCain buys a ranch outside the fictitious town when his son was only 6 years old, following the death of his wife, Margaret. The program was titled to reflect McCain's use of a Winchester Model 1892 rifle, customized to allow repeated firing by cycling its lever action, which he demonstrates in the opening credits. The loop rifle is also associated with John Wayne, who used the 92 version in many of his films. And on my shelf is a toy replica of this rifle, which is very rare. They were made by the Hubley Manufacturing Company in the US. If you enjoyed the series, this signature model could be purchased back then for your enjoyment. More than 500 actors made guest appearances in more than 970 credited roles during the 5-year series. And here's a list of some you may recognize. John Carradine, Lon Chaney Jr., Denver Pyle, Adam West, Claude Atkins, James Coburn, Dennis Hopper, Michael Landon, Robert Vaughn, Robert Culp, Martin Landau, Buddy Hackett, and a cameo appearance by none other than Sammy Davis Jr. Interesting. And getting back to our Flaming Star movie and the answer to our trivia question, were there 2 other big stars originally slated to play brothers, Pacer and Clint, in this film? Yes, and big stars they were. Frank Sinatra and Marlon Brando were originally slated to play the brothers before deciding to cast Elvis Presley in the lead role. Presley's previous film, GI Blues, had been a success at the box office and had led to one of his best-selling albums. Determined to be taken seriously as an actor, though, Presley asked for roles with fewer songs. And a road near Wildwood in Thousand Oaks has been named Flaming Star Avenue after this film. Pretty cool. I'd like to thank Frank for my back prop with his rifle on loan. Thanks a lot for making this video possible. Thanks to my subscribers. I hope you liked this video. And if you're somebody new watching, thanks for taking the time out of the week, and I hope you hit the subscribe button to help me down my path. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope to see you back next week.